Hi all, I'm Sheila. She's Kimberly. We're forever fangirls because fandom is ageless. So, Apple TV launched The Gorge on Valentine's Day.
You know, what says the day of love than two love interests separated by a massive gorge?
So, is it worth crossing that divide, or should you just escape a bad date and just get out of there? Let's find out. All right, so let's jump right into our spoiler-free review.
You said jump right into.
Well, we're jumping into the gorge.
We need a parachute.
Nope. Okay, well, that would be fun. But anyway.
No, it wouldn't.
Okay, this is an original story.
Yes.
Right? I'm going to start with the pros. And I jumped right in. Anyway, this is not a prequel.
Nope.
This is not a sequel.
Nope.
This is not a reboot.
Nope.
So this is exciting because it's a brand new story.
Yes. And it is a unique twist on a classic type tale. You know, you've got these two highly trained operatives given a, classified mission to protect each side of the gorge, you know, the east and the west. And they've got different life experiences and somewhat similar, but still very different, you know, areas they live in, this whole nine. And yet they somehow figuratively and literally manage to cross the divide.
And speaking of that, there's actually a really cute little montage of how the characters were getting to know each other. And it was really, really cool, but I thought it was shorter than what it should have been or could have been. But we will get into that later.
Yes. So I'm just going to pivot and say I was quite surprised by how good the special effects were.
Yeah, I was actually concerned about the special effects because, you know, this is on streaming. And, well, you know, we've had experiences with streaming and special effects. But it's Apple TV. And actually, the effects were really good. I mean, the gorge looked really, really realistic. Really, really, really.
Was it really?
Yes, really.
I have to agree. I was really concerned, really, because you and I have been, you know, burned watching series or films on other streaming services that should have had higher end special effects and didn't. And it kind of destroys everything for you, you know?
Yes.
And this really gave me like a good vibe, like a Last of Us vibe.
That's interesting because I actually was thinking that it looked like Pirates of the Caribbean to me. Dead Man's Chest specifically.
Really?
With all of the creatures in Davy Jones's locker.
Well, you know, they must have done something well to have been compared to Last of Us and, you know, Pirates of the Caribbean and Disney. But that doesn't mean they did everything well.
So you're going right into the con, are you?
I'm going right into the cons.
All right, go ahead.
It's very predictable. Like,
true.
There's so many moments where you know exactly what's going to happen because it's almost like telegraphed for you. And it would have been nice to have been surprised a little bit more so than I was. There was maybe a section here or there, but
so I have to say that there were points where I didn't know what was coming.
Okay.
And you actually did say that you saw it from a mile away. So I just want to point out that it wasn't all like that for me.
Okay, but considering all of the genres they were trying to cover, I think there was room to have many more surprises where I felt surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, it just, there wasn't.
Yeah, but you're a writer. You know, you see where all of those plot devices are.
I also think if they had made the beginning shorter, because we get a lot of exposition and development, if they had trimmed that down and then used that time to develop the relationship a little bit more and make the montage a little bit longer or have more scenes between them on the top of the gorge, going across the gorge or whatever, I think that would have aided the storylines a little bit more and filled things out a little bit better.
Okay.
You don't agree?
To me, how they did the intros for the characters actually set them up for why they were in the gorge in the first place.
Okay.
Right? It reminds me of Finding Nemo, where when they were doing test audiences watches and the background was basically flashbacks, it didn't do well. So they had to put the beginning the way we know it now. And I think that actually is the same thing here. In order for me to be invested in the characters, I needed to see where they came from.
But I think you're comparing apples and oranges. In my opinion, I think you are, because Finding Nemo, if you don't know, no, spoiler alert, if you don't know how Nemo became Nemo and why Nemo like was so special and why Marlin was so like protective of him, you don't understand the plight. Whereas in this case, I would rather learn about them from them to each other, almost like a fly on the wall, than I would be like this exposition dump.
See, we're just going to have to agree to disagree.
Okay, well then, all right. So agree to disagree on that point. But there is a funny point I have to mention. And the relationship to me, again, based on being alone over the course of 6 months, the whole nine, but it just like brought back memories of the movie Speed with Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock. Do you remember that film?
Yes.
Where,
yes.
He says to his character, Jack says to Annie, I have to warn you, I've heard relationships based on intense experiences never work. And it screamed that to me, and I couldn't get it. And I just kept giggling every time I thought of it.
Okay.
But that's my funny moment. But it's sort of a con though, because I didn't really believe it.
You didn't believe that the relationship would last?
I didn't believe it. Again, I didn't believe they were invested as much as I should have.
Okay. Well,
and that's why I say like they needed that time from the beginning for the middle.
Yeah. Well, maybe the film does suffer from the fact that there are too many genres here, right? We don't know if it's a thriller, is it a spy film, is it a horror flick, is it a romance, is it a romantic comedy? Like, there's so many different elements there that trying to develop all of it just wouldn't work. So maybe removing one or two of those genres and like just focusing on one aspect, maybe that would have helped.
Maybe.
But yeah, we'll talk more about that in our spoiler section.
Yeah, I mean that is an excellent point. So to close out the spoiler-free section, what would be our final verdict?
Well, it's a fun movie to watch, right? On a Friday night date night, especially when you're, indoors.
And it's snowing outside.
Yeah, staying at home. And it's PG-13.
Yeah, it's PG-13. That kind of is a con for me in this case with all of this genre smushing. But it is a simple movie. It's good for some laughter if you don't take it too seriously. There's great special effects. There's some really good action sequences. And it's okay.
Yes. So that said, we are actually going to rate this 2.5 stars out of 5.
Now, this is where we're going to start doing a sort of mild dive into spoilers. So if you don't want to be spoiled and you want to see the Gorge before seeing this section, feel free to pause, turn us off, whatever. We will catch you in the next video, and thank you so much for tuning in. But with that, we are going to now dive right into our spoilers. We've mentioned the special effects in the Gorge were good, but once they were in the Gorge, so he goes across the Gorge to visit her, they consummate their relationship, and then they're going back across, and I believe they were hollow men are crawling up the wall on his side. They blow up basically a bunch of stuff, and then he falls and has a little parachute. She runs and jumps in after him with the parachute, right?
Woohoo!
Yay!
That was fun.
They're in the Gorge now. And the creatures, the reason I bring all this up, the creatures are phenomenal. There's such a diversity with how they look, how they've blended into nature. There's a story that Levi is told by the person he's relieving in the very beginning when he gets to the Gorge about a battalions that have been sent in here and they just disappeared. They were supposed to go in to clear the Gorge out and they didn't. They just vanished.
Right.
Well, you find out it's because they have basically become one with nature. So when he falls into the Gorge, he ends up upside down, hanging from his parachute, which is stuck in what is remnants of a tree. And there's this massive, like, centipede-looking thing crawling on him. Really gross and creepy. But the thing that got me was when he cuts his lines and he falls to the ground.
Smushes on something.
And he's stuck to it like a glue. And then all of a sudden, these teeth start rising from the soil like a Venus flytrap. It is so creative and so unique looking.
Creepy.
And because it's slow and ominous, when you know she's around, but you don't know where she is, you're like, you better get there soon. It just raises the tension as it's moving so slowly.
Yeah.
That you're like, get there, get there, get there. It's I think one of the best sections to introduce you to what's in the gorge.
Yeah. And I think this is actually a good point for us to say why they're like that, right?
Okay.
The company that was doing experiments there, Dark Lake, actually they were working with a toxin which escaped. Like this contagion escaped into the air. And what it does is it merges human DNA with plant and animal DNA. So instead of destroying, right, this contagion, they're trying to keep it in the gorge so that they can continue to study this mutation for future bioweapon use.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? No, destroy it. It's like, no.
Nope.
But anyway, yes, that's where we are.
Yeah, that's where we are. And I'm just going to say there are two little cons here, and I'm sure you're going to disagree with me on this. One was when he falls into the gorge and it kind of blows up a section of the fencing. At any point, the Hollow Men could have gotten out, and conveniently, they just don't want to climb the wall anymore.
Well, because they're down in the gorge, their food.
Yeah, I'm just saying. It just, I mean, if it was me, I would have been like, dude, it's open. Let's go. And the other thing is that they say the toxin, if you're exposed to it for a small amount of time, everything seems fine. That sort of seems very convenient. So those are my little two, like, in regards to the toxin and that scene before. But there was one special effect that was so good, I didn't watch it.
Yes.
Because I don't like spiders.
And they were everywhere.
They were. There's a section where the Levi and Drasha end up in a church to kind of hide from the creatures outside the door. And they look up and all of a sudden the ceiling's moving and things start popping down. And it's
raining spiders.
Yeah. I didn't watch it. I am not ashamed to say I covered my eyes because I'm terrified of spiders. I don't like them. And they were rather accurate.
Yeah. I have to admit that I also was feeling like, ooh, like my skin was crawling, like literally because of that special effect.
I was itchy.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it. And I was like, nope, no, thank you.
So let's move away from the spiders.
Yes, please.
And talk about the relationship between Levi and Drasa.
Okay.
And so they were developing this relationship despite the gorge, right? And that montage that we were mentioning in the spoiler-free section was about them communicating through like written, through writing rather than texting because they didn't have their phones, right? They were learning about each other through like their shared patrolling of their respective sides. They were playing chess with each other. And they even had like a toast during Drassa's birthday, right? Yep. And so this all culminates in that one night when Levi actually does cross the gorge instead of scaling the tower, a la Rapunzel. And
wow.
You
brought in Rapunzel?
It is.
All right.
I brought in Nemo. Come on. So anyway, the need for human connection, right? I think that came across very well.
Yes.
Because we're human beings. We're social. We need that connection.
Yeah.
So
I'll give you that one.
I thought that was really well done.
I think it could have and should have been longer.
It should have been.
But that's just me.
Yes.
And you, apparently.
Yes. See, we agree on something.
We do.
So I think we can agree that Sigourney Weaver is awesome.
Yes.
Right. Now, her character's name is Bartholomew.
Okay.
And I think that's rather ironic because in the Bible, Bartholomew is one of the original apostles. And an apostle is supposed to spread the good word, right? In the gorge, Bartholomew actually does the exact opposite, right? She's keeping information hidden and orchestrating the demise of the West Watchguard Tower person each year.
Okay.
That's like, wait, what? No.
I had no idea. I'm not going to lie, I had no idea.
No? Oh, all right.
I had no idea.
To me, that was just like, wait, you're supposed to be on the good side, not the bad side.
Yeah, I mean, she did.
We need to have an antagonist in the story, so there you go.
And speaking of the antagonist,
Mhm.
I'm just gonna jump right into that. I'm just gonna say this film. Now we're going into the spoilers of the cons.
Okay.
This film could not decide what it was fully going for. Like, we start with this mystery, right?
Mhm.
About the gorge and what it means and what's the lore and what's down there. And he even says, you know what I dream of, like I think about when I can't sleep? I think about what's actually in there.
Mm.
Okay, great. We've got a mystery, which leads to like this interesting psychological study between two people who are stuck on two opposite sides of this massive wedge, like literally and again, figuratively.
Mhm.
And they somehow create like a connection. And then you go to like this creepy horror element with some unique, designs and everything. And then somehow they've shoehorned this political thriller in there for what seemed like commentary on billionaires doing whatever they can to gain money and power. And it's timely and everything, but it feels undeveloped or underdeveloped. And it feels like such a waste of Sigourney Weaver. I know that, maybe it's just supposed to be a cameo and there wasn't a lot there, and I get it, but her character makes such idiotic decisions at the end that make no rational sense. Like, she says that she needs to go to the gorge to take care of Levi because Levi is her mistake, but she's got people that take care of every minion that has been at the Westgard Tower each time. I mean, they show them in a helicopter and they say, confirm who you are. They unalive them. They cut the cord. They let them fall. I don't understand why she'd have to go to take care of it herself, especially when, they need plausible deniability.
It could be hubris, right? Because they had cloakers. No one knew about this. And so they have complete control. And when you think that you have complete control, you can do whatever you want.
But in the same token, those same cloakers, are kind of what the movie hinges on, right? The whole political thriller is what the movie hinges on. It's what starts it and it's what ends it. And it's so... Okay, so the company has the cloakers, right? And it blocks them from satellites and Google Earth, right? Those the person who Levi relieves says a story about stray dog. They don't exactly know what it is. All he's been told is run.
If all of this,
if the sirens go off and the cloakers are gone, run. Now we know that it's 4.2 clicks or 4.2 kilometers away that they have got to get.
Right. And that was because they hacked into, when they were in the gorge, they hacked into the computers and found out what program stray dog really meant.
Yes. So they knew they needed to get very, very far away. Now, if you didn't know that and you hear the sirens, you're not getting away. And again, that's deliberate because they can't have anybody that is connected to the gorge getting out because they don't want their secret getting out, which means that they have no intention of being there when stray dog goes. So when the cloakers go, there's no way she's getting out. So why would you go there?
Because
when you know you may have to do that at any time, when you could probably do it remotely, why are you showing up? It's an idiotic decision.
Well, because she also, like I said, it's hubris. She didn't think that they knew how to destroy the cloakers.
Yeah, you have mines everywhere. You've got highly trained operatives and they don't know how to blow up the cloakers.
I'm just saying.
No, it's a huge problem for me because...
Suspension of disbelief.
I can't. And look, spiders, I'll give you. This I can't because the film has no ending without the political thriller working. And because they couldn't develop it enough, for me, the ending is predictable and it's not satisfactory. And it just kind of feels like, okay, it is what it is.
Yeah, which is really surprising because I did read somewhere that, this was in development in 2000.
Okay.
And
2000?
2020.
I was going to say, that's long development.
Yes. No, 2020.
Okay.
It's still pretty long, right? And they didn't start really filming until 2023. So it took its time, right? So you would think that there was some kind of development there because I agree with you in that there were plot holes that even I noticed. And usually I don't. At the end there, she ended up in Ez, France.
Yes, you did mention this.
Now, how does she know how to get there when she doesn't know where she came from? They never knew where they were.
And to just put an addendum in here, when they get to the gorge, how they get there is they're flown there, or I don't know how Joshua got there, but Levi's flown there, and he's drugged. He's unconscious for the entire flight. And then he's like, where are we? And she's like, I'm not allowed to tell you that. And he basically parachutes out the back of a plane and ends up where he's supposed to be hiking.
Right.
So they have no idea where they are.
Right. And it's a map. It has no distinguishing features. The only clue that they know is that they're somewhere north, right? Because of the seasons. And that was through Levi and Drasa talking. So, okay, we know that they're somewhere north, but still, from there, wherever that is, to get to France, it presupposes that you know where you're starting from.
Yeah.
And since you don't know where you're starting from, how did they get there? Now, could it be that because the cloakers were destroyed, they then figured it out?
Yeah, but how can you figure it out when you have no equipment to figure it out with?
So unless it's, because of their training or whatever that they're able to survive.
They just got lucky and found a road.
I'm just saying that was a little bridge too far.
And you know what? Can I continue building that bridge with you? Because there is something that hugely stuck out to me and it made no sense. There is no way the company that has gone to all of this effort has samples, because they show a scene where
a drone
Levi is repairing the mines and hanging them, and a drone comes up, kind of does a 180 and then shoots up into the sky. So they've collected samples. They've been collecting data. They've been doing all of this stuff. So there is somebody, either it is Sigourney Weaver or it is somebody above her that has this information. And yet they let Levi and Drasa live?
Okay, so it's possible that because Bartholomew is no longer there, right? There is no leader anymore, per se, right? Or it leaves it open for a sequel, right? The Gorge 2, Revenge of Bartholomew, right? That's good, right? Oh, come on.
So that's going to be our show for today, folks. Thank you so much for tuning into our review of The Gorge. Have you streamed the film yet? If you have, leave a comment below and tell us your thoughts. And while you're there, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that little bell so you are notified of a new episode.
Yes, and until next time, stay safe, be kind, and remember, distance makes the heart grow fonder. As long as you're not infected.
Oh my God.